Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at the 2024 election in a scenario if Donald Trump absolutely swept Joe Biden in this election. Basically, I'm talking an electoral landslide, Donald Trump absolutely decimating Joe Biden in this November. But before we get started with the map, make sure you guys are subscribed, click the bell so you don't miss out on my content, press the like button, give this video a thumbs up. Also, if you're interested, we have memberships, you can find a link to that in the description section. Now back to the topic of today's video. I'm going to be filling out this electoral map. If Donald Trump won in a landslide, and that ended up becoming reality, because in my opinion, I think there's roughly a 1 in 4 chance that we do get to see a Donald Trump landslide. And basically that means he gets past, I would say, 330 electoral votes. In my opinion, that would be enough to consider it a landslide. Similar to Obama's historic victory in 2008, I would say so. So you would see typical solid blue states that will narrow up the margins, and they would go from solid, obviously, to likely and maybe even lean. For example, you would see states such as New York become likely for Joe Biden instead of safe, and it will help Trump with the popular vote. And if Trump has a landslide victory, he would probably win the popular vote by over 3 percentage points as an example. And I also do think that New Jersey would be considered lean. We have consistent polls time and time again, highly accurate rated ones on 538 that show Biden's lead in New Jersey is only in between 5 to 7%. That is a significant decrease from where we were 4 years ago, in which Biden won by 16 points, and now in New Jersey all of a sudden it's decided within 5 to 7 points. It's just not looking good for Joe Biden. And we go back to New York, in which Donald Trump had a rally here in the Bronx. It was a very successful one, I would say. And we have, on average, RCP shows that Biden's lead is 7.5, guys. 7.5% is Joe Biden's lead on average in the state of New York, according to Real Clear Politics. He won by 23 points, and now it's within single digits. This is not good news. This is historic for the former president, Donald Trump. I would also imagine that Illinois would become likely, probably by like 10 points for Joe Biden, instead of, I believe he won it by like 19 last time, or 18, probably because of the crime. I think Trump can perform better in the suburbs here, and I also do think that states like Washington State as well as Oregon would drop down to the likely margins. Actually, Oregon would be lean. It would be way closer, and also Hawaii would be considered likely because of what we saw with the Maui fires. I believe a lot of people are pissed or not happy with the response Biden did in Hawaii with the Maui fires. I think that can, hurt a lot of voters' opinions on Joe Biden, how they view him because of his response to the fires in Maui. So I do think that will hurt his chances in Hawaii, but still would not be enough for Trump to make it even close. Biden would still win that by a likely comfortable margin ultimately at the end of the day. And you would also see in a landslide scenario for Donald Trump, typical likely red states would be moving into the solid red state column. Donald Trump would, it would drive voters to the polls, and he would get high turnout in some of these red ruby states. For example, Iowa is now safe for Trump. We had a highly rated accurate pollster show Trump with an 18-point lead in the state of Iowa. Also, Ohio is safe for Trump. He's going to win that by over 10%, getting double digits. And also he chose JD Vance as his VP, which is from Ohio, so I believe he will get skyrocket turnout in that state. Also, Florida is going to be safe for Donald Trump. Texas is going to be likely for Donald Trump. We go back to Florida. A lot of Hispanics, Cuban Americans specifically, are really shifting towards the right. Miami-Dade County flipped blue to red in the 2022 midterms for Ron DeSantis. He got like nearly 20% almost. Even Marco Rubio, who is less popular than someone like Ron DeSantis, still managed to get past 10%. So I do believe Trump is obviously going to perform better than someone like Marco Rubio. And so with that being said, I do think Trump does crack double digits in the state of Florida. I think also Texas, we have a major border crisis. The issue of immigration, Joe Biden is disapproved of on that issue alone more than any other. So that's a losing issue for Joe Biden. And I do think that a lot of Hispanics in Texas will turn out for Trump more than recent elections past. And I also do think Trump can perform very well among African-American voters. He's getting nearly 20% among the majority of polls. And so with that being said, Georgia is going to be lean for Donald Trump. He's going to win that by 5 points in a landslide scenario. Also, North Carolina is now considered likely for the former president. He would probably win the state by 7% if he were to win an electoral landslide. That's actually his average, by the way, according to majority of polls on RCP and 538 as well. And I also do think that the state of Colorado would be lean for Joe Biden, and New Mexico is going to be tilt for the incumbent president. I do think that Colorado is actually getting bluer, but the reason why you don't notice that shift is because Joe Biden is at the top of the ticket for the Democrats' nominee. And if you replace Biden with any other candidate, for example, Gretchen Whitmer, Gavin Newsom, maybe even Josh Shapiro, I do think that Colorado would vote for the Democratic candidate other than Biden by a safe, comfortable margin over 10 percentage points. That candidate, if it wasn't for Biden, would get double digits in the state of Colorado because it's just so much of a blue state. But the reason why you don't see that is because Joe Biden is trash. He is one of the worst presidents that we've ever had in modern U.S. history. And so I do think Trump would probably want to run up the numbers in there, especially in a landslide. And also New Mexico, Albuquerque is a Democratic stronghold county, has a lot of white liberals, and so Donald Trump would struggle. And also it's going to be too much for him to overcome the votes and there. But considering this is a border state, I think Trump could perform better than usual, typically among Hispanic voters. So that's why it would be tilt instead of something like likely for Joe Biden. And I also do think that when it comes to the districts up in Nebraska and Maine, I do think Trump would narrowly win Nebraska's second by a tilt margin of like 1 to 2%. It's going to be close no matter what, even if Trump wins in a landslide. Joe Biden won this district actually back in 2020, but if Trump wins in a landslide, obviously he's going to flip this district. It's common sense. And also, Maine's second district is going to be safe for Donald Trump, and Maine's at-large is going to be tilt for Joe Biden. And the reason why I have Maine's at-large tilt for Joe Biden is because independent and third-party candidates do well in the state of Maine. Obviously, they have an independent senator, Angus King, and so I think RFK can do very well in the state of Maine. And if he takes enough support away from Biden, it will narrow up the margin and make it closer for Trump to actually win this district. But still, not going to be enough. Maine's at-large would go to Biden, but narrowly if Trump wins in an electoral landslide. And I also do think that the state of Arizona and Nevada will be likely for the former president. On average, according to RCP, Donald Trump has an exact lead of 7 points in the state of Arizona. I think the state entirely comes down to Maricopa County. Biden won it by, I would say, 2 points last time. I think Trump can perform better because of, immigration and the border crisis. And the main reason why Biden won Arizona back in 2020 was because you had these McCain-style neocons, the establishment Republican Party in Arizona, who does not like Donald Trump. They don't like the populism. They like the traditional, Romney, I would say, type. And they really turn out for Biden because he was quote-unquote moderate Democrat, which he is not. He's no longer that type of figure, and so they would go back to Donald Trump, and that's the main reason why Trump at this point in time currently has a 7 percentage point lead in the state of Arizona. And also, as for Nevada, I expect him to flip Washoe County as well as run up the numbers in Clark County, the Vegas area, which is the Democratic stronghold. If he's able to do that, he's probably going to win Nevada by over 5 percentage points and a landslide. Also, if he's able to perform better among Hispanic voters, that would be key to his victory in that state. And also, the state of Virginia, I believe, would actually go to Donald Trump by a tilt margin. And you take a look at RCP. Donald Trump is the favored currently, believe it or not, to win the state of Virginia by 0.4%. If you take a look at RCP, Donald Trump is winning Virginia. And this may shock you because Biden won it by 10 points last time. And this is a 10-point shift, 10-point swing to the right in favor of Donald Trump. According to the RCP polling aggregate, in which shows Donald Trump with a lead in the state of Virginia. For the first time, by the way, Trump has never led in this state. So if Biden has to defend a state like New York or New Jersey, for example, and because those are in jeopardy, by the way, how the hell is he going to defend a state like Virginia, Minnesota, or New Hampshire even if he's, New York is within single digits and New Jersey is within a margin of error, believe it or not, to go to Donald Trump? How do you expect him to win a state like Virginia if New York is going to him by 7.5% according to RCP averages? Like, you can't just, you just can't do that. And Donald Trump would probably win in a landslide in this scenario. He would probably win a popular vote even by over 3% on average. So he's definitely going to win Virginia because he also got endorsed here by the governor, Glenn Youngkin, who is very popular. So I expect Trump to perform better amongst, the suburbs and I would say the rural areas, but maybe when it comes to women, I think Biden would perform better among that, especially. And also Minnesota would narrowly go to Donald Trump if he were to win in a landslide. I believe because we don't have BLM anymore, that's what really pushed the suburbs here in Minneapolis to the left just 4 years ago. What happened to George Floyd really got Biden high turnout, and he won it by 7 points last time. So when you don't have that factor, when you take away COVID, which Trump was facing the outlash, he had the baggage, I think Trump is in a better, scenario to win a state like Minnesota now. And I just don't see how Joe Biden is going to win Minnesota by over 3 points this election. I just can't see it anymore. And I think Trump would do better this time around, especially in a landslide. And also, when it comes to the three most important Rust Belt states, which can ultimately decide who wins this election, Wisconsin was the reddest state in 2016 and 2020 when it comes to the Rust Belt. So Donald Trump would win Wisconsin by a lean margin. I expect Biden to, his turnout would significantly drop and lower and decrease in Milwaukee. I expect Trump to run up the numbers, run up the score in Green Bay, some of these stronghold Republican counties, as well as flip Door County, which would be important for Donald Trump. And also, I do think that Trump is going to win Michigan by a lean margin of like 3 points if he were to win in a landslide, and which is, basically in line with what the polls say currently as of right now on the averages. Biden received 100,000 people who voted against him, his own party, in the Democratic primaries in this state. Also, Donald Trump, who is not the incumbent, received more votes than Joe Biden when it comes to the primaries, who is the incumbent. And Donald Trump had a real opponent, Nikki Haley. Meanwhile, on the other side, Joe Biden had no primary contest challenger and somehow still managed to receive less votes than Donald Trump. In the state, 100,000 people voted uncommitted. And also, when it comes to places like Detroit, Biden is supposed to do better in there because Detroit's actually shifting towards the left and the suburbs are getting bluer. But the reason why you don't notice that is because Joe Biden is the nominee. If you replace him for someone like Gretchen Whitmer, Michigan would overwhelmingly vote blue and Democrat. And as for Pennsylvania, also Donald Trump got shot in this state, which would really boost turnout for him in this state. And I think Trump's going to win Pennsylvania by a lean margin, by like 4 points if he were to win in a landslide scenario. I think he can flip Erie County as well as perform better in Central County. And also, if Biden does not hold on to his numbers in Philadelphia and the Pittsburgh suburbs, he's on track to lose the state. I do believe Trump will flip Northampton County, as it only went to Biden by 0.7%. And the last and final state before we end off this video is New Hampshire, in which Trump would also win this state as well by under a percentage point if he were to win in a landslide. This state is very anti-incumbent. They favor the challenger, and so that alone will sway this race in favor of the former president. But keep in mind, it has a lot of college-educated voters, so maybe that can help Biden ultimately at the end of the day, but still doesn't matter, as if we were to see an electoral landslide for Donald Trump, he's going to win with 340 electoral votes to Joe Biden's 198, in which he can't even get past 200, which is bad for Democrats. So let me know what states you agree with or disagree with in the comment section down below, and why do you think that we will see a Trump landslide, why or why not. And one last final reminder is to subscribe, click the bell so you don't miss out on my content, press the like button, give this video a thumbs up. Also, if you're interested, we have memberships, you can find the link to that in the description section. That is pretty much it. Thank you everyone for watching.